everybody gone. Situation, aggravation, everybody allegation in the suit on the news. Everybody dog, bang bang, shock, and everybody's gone. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. Beat me, hate me, you can never break me. Will me, thrill me, you can never kill me. Chew me, sue me, everybody do me. Kick me, kite me, don't jump like a white me. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. Tell me what has become of my life. I have a wife and two children who love me. I am the victim of police brutality. No, I'm tired of being the victim of hate. Remember me, I'm a bride for God's sake. I think I gotta do a business prophecy. Set me free, skinhead dead. Everybody gone fast. Competition, recognition, everybody allegation in the suit. On the news, everybody gone. Black man, talk about the Indians. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. You know I really don't hate to see it. The government don't wanna see it. But if Roosevelt was living, he wouldn't let it be. No, skinhead, deadhead, everybody gone fast. Situation, speculation, everybody litigation. Beat me fast, you can never test me. Hit me, kick me, you can never get me. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. Some things in life they just don't wanna see. But if Martin Luther was living, he wouldn't let me see no love. Everybody's gone. Situation, segregation, everybody allegation in the city, on the news, everybody gone. Kick me, carry me, you're the right. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. With me, all I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. I'm here to remind you. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. Don't you set back and fuck the baby. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. I'm here to remind you. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. Don't you set back and fuck the baby. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us.
There we go. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to tonight's stream. It has been 1 year since the whole of East Palestine, their whole entire lives were changed from several bad decisions, compounding on top of another. Imagine one early morning, you're forced out of your home, you're told to leave, and this happens. Steps away from you, completely changing your life, the life of everybody around you, for the rest of your life. And there you go. Now that decision has reverberated still to today. So you can see they don't really care about us. They really don't. Welcome aboard, everyone. Glad you're here. It is not a kind celebration at all. It is not something to celebrate. It is a pretty somber anniversary of what happened here. It has changed railroading in America, probably for the worst. It is all the warnings we've been talking about, everything from precision scheduled railroading to what's been going on in the industry to how things are being torn down, safety regulations, etc., have culminated to this, and it will happen again. It is going to happen again. We will talk about what has happened here, but of course, we have to bring on our co-host over here, David Mitchell. Welcome aboard. Hope you all are here, as we're going to talk about. How you doing, man? That's nice. That's nice. Hopefully, none of them blew up like this here.
Versus they are trying to rebuild it. They have a whole barge crane and everything trying to rebuild that sucker because it's over 70 years old.
Wow. Yeah, that's a disaster waiting to happen if they don't get that fixed.
But I would not be surprised if I either hear or probably catch a train derailing over that bridge one of these days. I would not be surprised of it.
Yeah. So, real quick, let's go over basically what happened to what's going on over here. There was a good video that CBS put out. You guys know I'm not a fan of mainstream media, but this is a pretty good summary of basically what happened throughout the day. I'm not going to show the whole thing, but we'll just go through it and what has occurred to everybody over here. But basically, here we are. How everything changed in one day. How the residents were basically told to. Here you are.
Thing could happen because nothing ever happens in East Palestine.
Oh yeah.
But it did.
But
so here you go. People getting evacuated and everything like that. But let's go to the very beginning because Norfolk Southern is definitely at fault over here. And what's been going on is that through a program called Precision Scheduled Railroading, they're cutting down on as many safety regulations, trying to cut back on the amount of crew members that they have, cutting down the time for safety inspections, etc., trying to go ahead and make sure they can maximize as much profit as they can. So, as we can see here, so here's some camera footage from one of the cameras surrounding East Palestine of catching the brake lines on fire. So the train should have been stopped right here and then. They had sensors. They knew what was going on, but it just kept going. They were whoever was driving the train was told to keep on going. There's nothing going on. Well, and that's what called the derailment.
After that, it wiped out the town. Am I right?
What happened, David?
Like, it nearly wiped out the town.
Oh yeah, no, and it's still it's still affecting the town to this day, and it will continue because the water is still horribly contaminated, like way off the charts for, if I remember correctly, about 15 carcinogenic chemicals that are still in the water to this day. The EPA refuses to really go down there and do any sort of study or go into any of people's homes. They're just basically focusing on the air quality and saying, well, the air quality is fine. Everybody go back home. It's all clear. But they haven't... Go ahead.
That is what is most messed up saying, and I'll be honest. This is what I'm going to say. Like, if we want a better world, all this would have been cracked down on a long time ago. Am I right?
Oh, yeah. And the crazy thing is that the EPA will go ahead and quickly throw this through and go down there and say, oh, everything's clear. But when it comes to going ahead and approving through one of their EIS studies a railroad or a high-speed rail line that is going to potentially help to bring thousands of jobs, connect the country, and help to make this country what it should be, they'll drag their feet on it. They'll take their time. They'll make sure the study takes a year or more or 3 to go ahead and take all the... They'll make sure to go right in depth to get all the public comments and everything surrounding that. But when it comes to this, no, we did our study. Everything is clean. Don't worry. We had our couple of conferences. We rented out the gyms and have our news conferences and heard from and that was it. And that'll be it.
And that sad thing is like when the EPA, and this is what I'm going to bring up, is that when the EPA, when it comes to roads, they give them the go ahead automatically. Like you can build your road, it's not going to do any damage.
Yeah.
But when it comes to railroads, they said, nah, you got to go through a couple years of us doing this. Sorry, Sonny.
Yeah.
It's like they are being paid by the competition and the dirty company,
Yeah, apart from the lobbying, it's the sort of corruption is sort of business as usual. It keeps everybody paid within the government agencies. It keeps the whole crooked train going, because this is not the type of train that we want going. If we know that there's something that's going on, they had warnings. They saw what was going on. They know their own strategies and corporate handling of where they're taking the company is going to cause more accidents, but they don't care because it still helps the bottom line.
And back in 2022, when all those protests were happening, like those protests were a clear red indicating, like the red and the whistle were being blown back in 2022 when everybody was protesting against PSR and the one-man crew.
Yeah.
And Biden made them quit. Not even a couple months later, a Palestine happened.
Exactly.
Am I right?
Exactly. And hear it from Norfolk Southern over here. Look, these two guys that they have over here. I think this is the president of safety and some other student. The other thing that really ticks people off, and it's understandable why the residents of East Palestine and everybody else that sees this are extremely annoyed and upset with Norfolk Southern, despite whatever Norfolk Southern wants to do to go ahead and have their due diligence as they want to, because they're doing the minimum possible, right? Oh, we have a center set up. Oh, we paid some people a little bit of money and all that sort of stuff. Because if they really went down to this, honestly, Norfolk Southern should be paying the fair market value of the house prior to the accident for any resident that wants to leave that has been sick or anything like that. They should not only pay for all their medical expenses from anything that has happened to this, and that's the reason why the EPA doesn't want to link it, to what's going on in Norfolk Southern, because they know if they go ahead and test the water for all the cancer that's going on, for the bronchitis, for the nosebleed, the rashes. I mean, there was a doctor this morning that I heard that men are getting breast cancer from the stuff in the water and everything else like that. I mean, our water's already bad as it is, the stuff they're putting in our water, right? But it's the fact of the matter is that some people are stuck in East Palestine because they can't sell their home. Who's going to buy a home in East Palestine now if you try to sell your home, especially in this market? So you're basically stuck. What they should be doing is paying the fair market value prior to the accident, plus double, plus all the medical expenses. So if somebody wants to leave the town and say, you know, I want to sell my house and I want to get out, that's what they should be paying, and that's what they should be doing. Not all these BS promises of, oh yeah, we're gonna bring a center over here so we can bring in 5,000 people for training and stuff like that. Wait, what? Wait. We know the town is contaminated. We know the water's contaminated. So let's bring in 5,000 more people so they can have training on what? A training center for what? For safety? For knowing how much Norfolk Southern can screw up? But let's hear these guys, because it will tick you off too.
All right, let me bring it up on my live stream, or like let me bring up your video from my phone where I can hear it.
Yeah, sure, Head. Let me know when you're set. But yeah, but and these two guys, tell me, well, you good?
I'm muted.
All right. So let's go ahead. Let's hear these guys.
I wasn't there.
So let me mute my mic where they can hear it on my side.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, Norfolk Southern Vice President of Safety. So here's the question.
Of most concern was cooling. So why was Vandenberg still done? Why did Norfolk Southern still want to?
I wasn't there to be a part of that decision.
The first thing he comes up with an excuse. Well, I wasn't there. No, sorry, you're the Vice President of Safety. It goes up to you, man.
Experts.
You're in the chain of command.
Because a lot of people feel that their sicknesses have been caused by the vent and burn.
We understand. We're committed to the citizens of East Palestine. We have invested a tremendous amount in their health, their safety, air monitoring. We're committed to being there.
Okay, so a non-answer. Again, a non-answer.
For the long term.
There are some residents who are
And it's the most corporatized HR BS answer that you can come up with. We are committed to the safety and the comfort of the residents around in East Palestine, and we are, as a company, committed. It's such BS. You can tell from the voice.
If they were committed, and I'm going to bring it up, if they were committed, they would be doing their effort to save the town.
Yeah, beyond that.
Or not.
Yeah. And somebody brought it up. Yeah, it is clear that he's dodging the question. It's a boilerplate BS bullet points that some HR lady came up with, some HR lady lawyer, and said, hey, look, this is the exact things you need to say when you go on the CBS interview today. Just write these down, put them in your head, and make sure that you're following exactly to it. This is the type of shit, and excuse my language, but this is the type of stuff that drives me absolutely up the wall.
You're not the only one, Dimitri. Like this that would drive me through the roof too, because look, you're putting people's life at risk and their livelihood and where they live at.
Yeah.
Like, it's bad enough that places around the U.S. are getting more expensive. Like I even brought it up in our last collab that literally the apartments around here cost almost $1,600. You know?
Yeah.
That outrageous. Like if they were around 800, maybe 500, that would be fine. But over 1,000, nah, no.
No, it's
ridiculous.
It's completely insane, and it's no wonder why our generation is so ticked off with everything, the way that's everything is being run, how it's run like this. Look, if this happened in this guy's hometown, right? If Mr. John Phelps, the Norfolk Southern Vice President of Safety, if this happened in his town, where here, look at this. Where's the video? Look at that. If that happened to his child, getting rashes, getting bloody noses, cancer, bronchitis. Wait, hold on. Here we go.
Itchy skin, bloody noses.
What? It's insane. They would be if
There
they
you
were
are.
in the town and it was his kid and stuff. he would be through the roof.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, he wouldn't be just, well, we are committed to the future and the residents of East Palestine. No, have some compassion. And this is the thing with the corporate speak. There's no emotion to it. There's nothing tied to or any sort of sympathy or empathy for what the residents have gone through. Okay, there was a woman this morning that I was listening to. I think it was on War Room with Stephen Bannon. But the thing is, again, you have to understand that East Palestine is a far more conservative town than most other places. They can't stand the president because, especially, this is a year after. Imagine if Bush, during 9/11, came a year after the towers fell. How absolutely ticked off the rest of the country would be. But,
it would be good.
But this is, here we go, look.
This Sunday marks the first anniversary of the train disaster
Like,
in East Palestine, Ohio.
Let's be honest. We already know he's not getting voted in again. We can bet that for sure.
We don't know. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know. That's the thing. In 2020, it was a shoo-in probably for Trump, right? Look, we're not going to go into all this sort of stuff, but again, things are up in the air. I'm just saying that the way this was run was absolutely appalling. There was little to no effort from the administration to really help this. You know, it's just like, yeah, well, it's got the name Palestine in it, so we have to blow it up. That's basically what it looks like from this administration, what they want to do. And the U.S. government in general, right? Whoever's running the U.S. government, that's all they seem to want to do, you know. And when it comes to this, no money to go ahead and help people. Flint, Michigan still doesn't have clean water. There are so many places that are still falling apart, but yet we have to get ourselves dragged into basically World War III over here and start having a pissing contest with Iran on the behest of the greatest ally over there. You know, this is bonkers.
And Dimitri, I already did it. We're already at war, and no one don't realize it yet. You know?
Yeah. No, we've been at war.
Like, we're already in the beginning stage of World War III, but no one wants to admit it.
Yeah. And look. Credit on Trump for going in there and helping the residents. You know, passing out water, that sort of stuff. But I mean, unfortunately, he doesn't have, you know, whatever power that he wants to do, because it's what it is. And look, I was supportive of Trump during his presidency, and if, that's not a secret or anything like that. But I mean, this is just ridiculous. The whole way this whole ball was dropped.
Exactly. And then you have people who, and not people, but I will bring it up. Like, when it comes to train disaster, like, do you remember when they were trying to, when we're trying to force the one-man crew thing, but you know, FRA that told them no and made it illegal?
Right.
Like, the thing is, we had near quote disaster to show why you don't need one-man crew and why you need two-man crews. Like, a few months after, or not after, but before the East Palestine disaster, a BNSF train nearly ran into a Class 2 regional railroad train, you know, not paying attention, you know?
Yeah, and it's these sort of... We're seeing this not just in railroading, like we've said on the last stream. Infrastructure is the canary in the coal mine for a falling country, because we're seeing this not just on the railroads. We're seeing this not just on the roadways. We've been seeing this now in the airline industry as well, in the air, in the sky, where planes are falling out of the sky on fire, or, you know, their emergency doors that are being propped up as windows or blowing out of the fuselage. We're just going to keep seeing more of this. So this is from...
You got that right.
Yeah. So here's Trent Conway, the mayor of East Palestine, saying, the president is always welcome to our town. That being said, I don't know what he would do here now. We are going on a year and nothing from the White House. The best time for him to come would be February of 2025, when he is on his book tour. So that's the mayor basically saying, you know, Biden's not going to even last as president anymore. He can come on his book tour when he's not president next year. But that's again, people are ticked off. This is the response from the mayor there. So you can tell most. I don't think the residents of East Palestine are going to be voting blue this year. I don't think so.
Not even Ohio, because let's be honest, most people in Ohio are, pissed with the president.
Oh yeah, and I say Ohio basically at this point is a shoo-in that's red. That's not even like Ohio and Florida aren't even swing states anymore. I would say Texas is much more of a swing state than Florida is now. But I mean that's just even Texas now. What's going on with Texas? I don't think they're going to be voting blue either. But I don't know. I mean honestly. Slight segue to whatever election. I think it's going to come down to Michigan. It's going to come down to Wisconsin, and it probably is going to come down to Nevada and Arizona. Those are basically the 4 states that I think is going to tie up the rest of the election. Maybe Pennsylvania, but I doubt it. I doubt Pennsylvania is going to vote red.
Because we know Pennsylvania is a corrupt state,
Yeah. That's just what it is. Okay, let's go back to what's going on over here. So yeah, look at this acute bronchitis from the fumes over there. But let's go back to the rage fuel that is the response for Norfolk Southern, or the lack of any sort of empathy from the corporate bots that they sent. Okay.
We're about seeking solutions.
Seeking solutions. You know when anybody starts their presentations about seeking solutions, vertical integration, or any other corporate buzzwords, it's like, oh boy, here we go again.
Yeah.
From a long-term health standpoint.
Our generation get older, like the Gen Z and millennials. Our generation are going to get tired of this. Heck.
No,
James, the Gen Zs that were born before 2003 were getting tired of the ones who were born after 2003 too. You noticed that?
Yeah. David Jackson saying, did Secretary Pete Buttigieg visit East Palestine? Yeah, but when it comes to a national emergency, come on, that's when the president has to come in. You're sending the Secretary of Transportation over there. That's like if Bush sent the Department of Defense over to or FEMA, to 9/11 or let's say Katrina. Okay, that's just. And Katrina was an absolute disaster already. How it was running all that. That's a complete other pair of something that we're not going to even go into. But
I remember Katrina. Like I went around 7 when that happened, and let's be honest, that brought the whole country to its knees. Did down in that one area. Yeah.
And I think Bush visited, 2 weeks later or something like that. I mean, even when there's hurricanes in Florida, usually, presidents will come down to visit, or if it's Texas, wherever a hurricane has come on. I mean, this is just, Biden did visit after the one of the later hurricanes that happened in Florida. So, for him not to come over to East Palestine, when this has been national news, almost nonstop during last year, and it has come back on the news. He comes in on the not even like any random time. He has to pick the 1-year anniversary just to add salt into the wound.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, here I am on the 1-year anniversary, the one day out of the year you're really going to think about this. Here I am.
Like, it's a straight up insult. Am I right?
It is. Let's hear these guys and just let's hear them for a bit, just so you can see.
A cancer cluster, will it still be there to help?
From a long-term health standpoint, we are addressing that with the state and local authorities.
So
we are addressing that with the state. And look, I get they had to cut off some things for time, but if that was what they only had, the only substance that they can put in, look at this guy's answer again. Will Hardin, this is Norfolk Southern Senior Director.
That with the state.
I'll be honest.
We are addressing that.
We are addressing that with the state and addressing what? What are you doing specifically? People are getting cancer. We are addressing how?
With with the state and
Like,
local
and here,
authorities.
Gene, like,
So,
you remember when I said we're going to see more Class 1s become fallen flags? Norfolk Southern are going to be in the net. I'm already calling it.
It could be, but again,
More
we've.
likely Union Pacific with their crap.
I know, but we've gone on to this, and remember, because Norfolk Southern is a publicly traded company, most of the Class 1s are, or all of them, but you can see who owns them, and it's basically the same three investment firms: BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. We can make that into a song: BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. The same three companies. If all these Class 1s are all equally traded between these investment firms, right? And they're basically trading Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh cards with them. You know, if they just keep trading them back and forth between the same three people, do you really think anything is going to really change among them, or really? No, that's the problem.
And it like a monopoly. Like, what they're doing fall under monopoly, you know?
Yeah.
is
That's
it an
This
option that's on the
happened,
table?
and I'll be honest. Like, when Peter Roosevelt, or not Peter Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt was the president back in the early 1900s, he literally cracked down on stuff like this. He literally tried to stop stuff like this from happening. But, you know, the country, they find ways to sneak right back in, you know?
Yeah, but it's even worse than before, because I don't think Teddy Roosevelt in his day would have figured that you're going to have basically, a couple years later after his own tenure, the Federal Reserve, which is basically pumping in an infinite amount of money to fund this scheme, plus the post-war era where the complete shift and change of not just the demographics in America, but the entire moral system of America, to a point where instead of the family being the number one object of importance within the country, it's become the dollar, the capital of everything to go on. Yeah, and it's basically it's you're squeezed between two wrongs. You're squeezed between the capital and the state. You know, it's basically, well, how can we control the money? You know, that's basically the problem with both the systems, is that it's basically, well, who controls the money, the state or the corporations that are going to control you? And that's wrong. We need to take that out of the equation and say, the people also need to have, the families especially, because the ones here that are suffering are the families and the people of, and you want to call this like an extended family here in East Palestine, because most of these people have been there for generations. You know, and that's the problem, is that they've been ignored. They've been trampled upon by an outside force that doesn't really care for them. They just see it. Oh, it's an inconvenience. It's a not just an inconvenience. It's a really hard inconvenience that we have to go to this. We have to put a face on for here. We're really talking with the state, and we're looking at solutions with the state and the local government to see what we can do. See what you can do. What?
It is an option.
Tell me about it.
Some residents
Like,
are
seeing into that, it's just so corrupt. Hell, it's to the point where people don't even want to start families anymore, because the cost of living and trying to start a family is so outrageous. It deters a lot of people. Heck, there is a homeless epidemic in the country, and we don't want to solve it.
Yeah, which is a mistake. Don't be so demoralized that you don't want to start a family and say, well, I don't want to bring a kid in this world or anything like that. No, we need fighters, we need leaders, we need the next generation to carry on the same type of fight that we're trying to carry on right now. They're probably going to be fighting a heck of a lot more than we are, but at least we got to start going on. Let's see if we can finish. Yeah, so we're gonna do, David. We're gonna finish through some of the points in this video, and then we're gonna bring in people from the audience over here. So let's finish through this here.
also concerned that by Norfolk Southern hiring contractors and paying for them, that there is an inherent conflict of interest.
We're about seeking solutions.
Seeking solutions.
And any problems that residents have, we'd be happy to discuss it with them.
Do you think more independent testers?
And that's another thing, the consultants that they hired. They keep hiring consultants. Where have we heard this before? The amount of millions of dollars hidden into consultants. I wonder where we've heard that too.
California high-speed rail.
Okay, wait. So she just asked if there can be, yeah, exactly, about having independent investigators involved in the process. And as he says, I don't have an opinion on that.
Because some of them have found.
The reason why, because the independent investigator would crack down and call it out.
Yeah,
You know?
and it's not like, oh, they're just kooky people or whatever. No, they're doing the exact same process that the EPA should be doing. They're using the exact same equipment, laboratories, similar sort of process to go ahead and measure the contaminants of the water. There's absolutely no reason why they should be thrown out of here. I mean, heck, in a court of law, that's still applicable evidence. That it's ridiculous.
And plus, that is going against our, bills of rights.
Yeah.
Because of what it does is violates it. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly. Let's finish this right here, and then go through some other points here.
U.S. EPA has done a very good job of
Oh yeah, U.S. EPA has done a very good job.
in helping us answer the questions that residents have following those independent tests.
So basically, they're using the federal, and this is the problem when you have this corporatocracy between these large corporations that are all owned by the same 3 or 4 investment firms and a massive federal government that has this revolving door of these lobbyists and a lot of these bureaucrats that used to work at these firms. Because you think that, let's say the Defense Department, you think they don't have people that used to work at Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and all these other, you think they know that if they start something in the Middle East that their own pockets are also going to get lined with that? Of course they know. It's the same thing here in the United States when it comes to mostly any other industry, whether it's farming, whether it's the freight railroads, and unfortunately, this is something that we're talking about. It's like we want America's railroads to be successful. We want it to provide good paying jobs, family wages for people. We want it to provide a sense of purpose for young people to have something, to have some sort of work, to have something they can contribute to in their local economy, in their local community. It's ridiculous that we're at a point that we're at war with our own large institutions. This is the type of war we're talking about. Is a civil war or whatever in America doesn't have to be a hot war or anything like that. I mean, we're playing a whole Cold War here with our own institutions.
What do you say to those people who say that
Like,
the rail industry
it's
is-
saying, like,
should
heck.
stay?
Like, I'm going to bring up the NIMBYs. You know the NIMBYs?
Oh, yeah.
Like, we always talk about them. Heck, we're having NIMBYs fight against the development here in my hometown, or not technically main hometown, because downtown Charlton is where I'm born at. But here in Ravenel, we have people protesting against the development of apartments.
Yeah, and it's understandable because what those apartments can be used for, but the problem is that, well, if you provided no housing for the local residents, especially the younger residents, affordable housing that where they can be able to live, have a house to call their own, have a place to be able to raise their family, have a place to come home to after work, then yeah, they're gonna try to want some sort of form of housing or whatever it is, and having these apartments. The problem is that it's too many wrongs to right another wrong, and that becomes an issue.
The people are dead against it, but they're fine with suburban development.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like and that's the problem when you have suburban development. It increases the home price. It inflates the home prices. That's the problem. It doesn't increase it. It's inflating it. Because they're usually more expensive than they're going to be. A lot of those suburban developments are still going to be empty. The only people who can afford them are, well, the same sort of people who can really afford housing these days. So it just keeps the market inflated up. At some point, it's going to come crashing down.
It's going to pop.
Yeah. But let's focus on here. Let's finish these two over here for Norfolk Southern. And then we'll go from there. Bless you.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm already feeling the pollen,
I know. Yeah, we haven't had any sort of winter here. We're already into spring. Winter's done. Sorry guys, no snow. Snow is canceled. Dark winter is canceled. But anyway, let's finish this.
In Washington, D.C., and they point to like $2 million in lobbying by Norfolk Southern in 2022.
If there's legislation out there that ultimately enhances safety, as long as that is supportive of a healthy business environment, we support it.
So basically a non-answer. She's basically asking them, well, this is a pretty good deal that all they need to take is just a $2 million lobbyist to go ahead and put some weak law with a whole bunch of loopholes so you can be able to escape any sort of responsibility for this. And he's like, well, if there's any sort of law that prevents, puts a healthy business above, we support it. That is a non-answer. What?
Well,
word soup.
It's stupid, you know? Like, they know it because, let's be honest, there are laws that make it harder for them that where they can't get away with stuff, they will be dead against it.
No, and it's completely infuriating. And here the big thing is that, so they decided to go ahead and blow up all this stuff. Again, the EPA just conducted air monitoring. Nothing else into going into the water, not going into people's homes and testing if any of the contaminants have gone into their homes. Absolutely nothing of that sort. They did the bare minimum. They called it a day. They said everybody can go home, go ahead, get cancer, we're leaving. That's basically what they said. Not word for word, but that's how it's come out. And even the manufacturer, so here's another thing. For the vinyl chloride, even the manufacturer said you didn't have to blow it up. There was no need to blow it up. So let's go ahead and bring that, if I can scroll around over here, see if I can remember where the heck it was. Somewhere around here.
Norfolk Southern again. An ad was in.
Here we go. I think I'm getting close.
When did you
It's so ridiculous, you know? Like,
but were present.
was
like that movie, you know, like where everybody gets dumber, you know?
Yeah, we're getting into, we've been in idiocracy, but it's not even funny anymore. It's just, unless you're just become so completely jaded that any sort of ridiculousness at this point is hilarious. It's basically clown world, right? You know, that Pepe meme with the clown makeup on, that's basically what we're living in. It's clown world.
Like, we're literally seeing idiocracy. Like, that movie was a warning to, you know? It's saying it, and I'm not going to call, I'm not trying to be any idiot right now, but the woke and the feminists, they say, oh, smart people don't want family. Well, your reason why there are more dumb people in the world. Am I right?
Yeah. Okay, so here's where it is, where one of the representatives for the companies that produces the vinyl chloride said that there was absolutely no need to blow it up, that it was cooling down. There was no need to go ahead, off-gas this, blow this up, threaten the lives of all the residents over here. Here we go. If I can play it.
Communication.
Here we are.
Vinyls testify
To make the decision.
Also, the company that produced the vinyl chloride, Oxyvinyls, testified that they had informed Norfolk Southern that the rail car of most concern was cooling down, reducing the risk of an explosion.
The communication was we saw nothing that would cause us to believe that polymerization was occurring. There wasn't any type of temperature rise.
Both
Like,
Drabek
it's
and Mayor
just so
Conaway
dumb,
said
you know?
Yeah, so again, it just goes to show the reason why the explosion was done was that Norfolk Southern wanted to get back to getting their trains going in, which honestly at that point, if I was gonna say, if somebody in that town really had some cojones, there'd be some missing tracks where they couldn't even go through. Like, it's just basically having a way to stop. Like, you're not coming through our town. Sorry, you're gonna have to go ahead. You want this train to go through, not through our town. You're gonna have to go find some other network or some other way to get whatever you're getting through here somewhere else, because it's not coming through here. And that was the sort of legislation that we were trying to bring up, right? Was that, you know, at some point, well, maybe if residents say that, for example, if a company, any sort of freight railroad company, cannot meet a certain standard of safety, they would not be allowed to go through their town, that they can use some sort of eminent domain to shut down the railroad there and say, hey, you're not going through here until you can go ahead and meet a certain standard of safety. But there's absolutely no way to do that because you can't do it through a local way because the FRA will step in and say you're overstepping your boundaries. And that's the problem, is that all the power that the local governments have has been basically stripped away. And we've had this discussion with the AI and lawyers or whatever, which basically, honestly, I'd rather have a conversation with the AI than pay a lawyer thousands of dollars to basically get the same answer. So, yeah, it just basically said, yeah, there's basically nothing you can do with the happy face. That was what the answer that we got from ChatGPT.
And here at Kicker, and I'll be honest, is that we could blame the FRA predecessor for this, and you know what I'm going to be blaming? The, Interstate Commerce Commission. We could blame them for all of this.
Yeah, the ICC definitely is a part of that too. But yeah, look at this. So let me see if you can find.
Thing is, it's that reason why the SEC was dismantled and was no more by 1996 was because of the stupidity they did back in the 1960s.
Yeah. And here we go. Again, this is something that the EPA is just completely avoiding. This is something that it doesn't take a microscope to even look at. You can visibly see with your own naked eye the contamination that is still lingering within the water.
To do this with a stick, and the EPA can't find them with no.
And this is from a day ago.
Residents saying water in East Palestine, Ohio, still visibly
Still.
nearly a year.
It's so ridiculous that the company, they want to defend their, practices. It's so disgusting.
Yeah. All right, so let's bring people on board. This is, after all, an open mic, so let's start bringing people on board. There's really no time limit. We'll just start bringing one person after another every 5 minutes or so until we fill this all up and we get tired of talking, and then we'll call it a night. So Tobio was first. We'll bring him on. We'll bring in people from left to right on order over here on Discord, and then we'll go from there. So, yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah, we can hear you, bud.
Well, it's been a year. Well, that's one thing. And, to be honest with you, like you guys said, not really has changed. Really
Nothing much, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, nothing has changed, to be honest. Yeah. I mean,
It's just so crazy, like, how that nothing have changed, and it did seem like everything just keep getting worse,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Even for Norfolk Southern, they're not doing anything, to be honest with you, to prevent another disaster, or to be honest with you, heck, all the other, the Class 1 railroads, so, talk about that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No, and this is why I keep saying it's going to get worse before it gets worse, and then it will start to get better. And by starting to get better, we're going to be starting at like the pit. So that's what I'm talking about. It's not going to get better from this end. But yeah, this is the thing, is that this sort of accident, this sort of disaster is inevitably going to happen again. It's just which town is next. And it's like every time you hear the train horn go by now near a freight railroad, you're going to be thinking to yourself, oh man, did somebody skip something in their safety in their safety checks? Is somebody going to call? Is the conductor or one of the crew members going to call and say, hey, I got a problem over here? And somebody's going to answer back, brakes? I don't want to hear about any brakes. I'm on my brake. I don't care if brakes on fire. And then boom, you get an accident that happens again. Another derailment, another explosion, because they have to go ahead and get trains through. And there's really nothing that these residents over here, they're basically powerless to do anything against these behemoths. Short and anything through the legal premises, through whatever institutions that you have over here, they're powerless.
Right.
One thing I learned is that if you cannot do anything properly, and if it does, people will get violent. Like, that thing I learned is that if the legal system does not work for the people, eventually, if the corporation keep getting away with what they're doing, people are going to snap, and when they snap, it will get violent.
And I have to say, as the officially as the American Rail Club, we do not condone officially any sort of violence. Okay, so let's just put it at that.
Do not condone violence.
Okay, we don't. Okay, but anyway, that's no, a nod and a wink or whatever anywhere. But yeah, this is the problem, is that people are getting so upset. There's no recourse for them in a legal way. So yeah, people may snap. It's just that it's like, what's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back? Okay.
It would be when people die, and when a whole town that completely wipes off the map, where it have a high fatality rate.
Oh yeah, like another Lac Mégantic explosion, like what happened in Canada. I mean that
Back in 2013.
Yeah.
It's been over a decade now since that happened.
Yeah, and look at that town. They haven't gotten anything through there. So this is something that's been so ingrained in the last several decades or so, within the last generation or three probably, of the way that corporations sort of run now in this, and we're just at the mercy of whatever they want to do, unfortunately, using any sort of legalese.
Like, we're seeing what happened in France with the farmer protests. Like, the protests over there are crazy. Like, the farmers, they're actually really getting their way with how they're protesting.
And I've said this for years, ever since there was one protest I remember seeing in middle school or high school, of the French getting really upset, and of course, like burning office buildings and government buildings, and throwing crap at government offices. I'm saying, if only Americans could protest just as half as good as the French protest, things would be a lot different over here. It's like, please don't tell me what happened on a certain date at a certain location, that was some sort of insurrection. Please, what the French are doing right now is beyond whatever Americans could even possibly have the cojones to do. Give me a break.
Like, literally, I've seen video coming out of France of them launching cow manure. Poop.
Oh yeah. Imagine that happening in DC, or imagine that happening, at Norfolk Southern's headquarters, where they're just getting like either cow or toxic water thrown at them. Imagine that. Maybe then they would listen. I don't know.
That would work then, that for sure.
Yeah. Let's see if we can bring on any more people from the audience. Star Force 97, you're on. We're just going to bring one at a time.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, man.
Loud and clear.
Okay, so after hearing all of the things that have been going down, obviously things that I wouldn't imagine would have changed even a year on. Maybe not even 2 years after this, or even 5 years. But it's not going to be. But the thing is, the problem that we have here in the U.S. and a lot of the world, to be honest, is that it usually doesn't take just one incident to create change. Sometimes it's going to take a lot of incidents like this one.
Oh yeah.
If there's like, for something to actually change, like, you can't just have one of these. You need to have these like happening like all over the place, like, and they all would have to be like that bad. Not saying it wouldn't happen, but like, but the thing is, the best course of action you want to take if you're putting yourself in a position of power like that would be like, okay, how much worse could this possibly get before we actually have to do something? Like, can't we just do this? Like, can't we just right now find ways to actually solve these problems? And the other thing is, like, Norfolk Southern, I know that they're not, from what I've been hearing in the interviews that Demetrius shared on the stream, like, they're not showing much accountability. Maybe they are taking accountability behind closed doors, but you're not seeing it out in the public because they don't want to have their public perception tainted at least any further as it is. And now I just don't want this. But now, after hearing about this story, like especially considering like my parent, like I can attest on a personal level, like my parents, like literally just well, nearly last I think it was November 2022. They moved to right next to a one of the Union Pacific, one of the metro lines in the suburbs. Um, specifically along the UP West line, which has a lot of freight traffic. And you can argue, like, even though they run a lot of metro trains on it, it seems like more often than not you're going to see a freight train, no matter what time of the day it is.
That is true.
Right.
And
Like, oh yeah. Oh, Val said hi, by the way.
I'll tell her hi.
yeah, but back to what I was saying. So, like, the thing is, like, and this is another reason why we need to start separating passenger rail traffic from freight train traffic like that, because like not only if this were to happen along, like, say, like a commuter rail line, especially like the Metra or like the uh Mark in Maryland's DC, like if a spill like that were to happen, something along East Palestine, that could cripple, like, not just the town but all of the surrounding, like, suburbs and even the city itself, like, around it. Like, I couldn't imagine having that happen, like, especially where my parents live, because they literally live like right next to the train tracks, and they've never the closest my parents have ever been to the train tracks, or when I was living with them, was like, I think it was like a quarter of a mile, and that was also along the same line that they live along now. So you can only imagine. So now every time, like when I'm visiting my parents and there's a freight train going by, I hear like these, it's hard. It's sometimes it's like, oh no, what is this train gonna derail or something like that, or what, or it's like what chemicals or what's in these, like, did they oversee safety regulations? Like, I can relate to that because I've been to people's houses that are like almost like either right next to the train tracks or like across the street from it, and
So,
I just don't want that to just happen.
Starford, like, I actually live right across from the train tracks. Like, I can see trains from my house through the tree line, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I live right by the track. The line that I live by is called the A line, or part of the A line I live on is called the Charleston sub. We go from Florence all the way down to Savannah, Georgia.
Wait, doesn't Amtrak go through there as well?
Yep, PO 52.
The Palmetto.
Yeah, Palmetto go right by my house. I caught it earlier today.
Yeah, and I think this is why. Sorry to interrupt, but like one of the things this morning was there was a resident from East Palestine. I mean, she sounded kind of hysterical, but knowing what happened to her and seeing, through her eyes and empathizing with how she went through the event, that her house is basically about 12,000 feet from where the explosion happened, from the ground zero of the incident to everything else, that she was visibly tattered from the incident, like with this big streak of PTSD from the whole entire incident, that she was absolutely upset. Her whole entire life had been invested into this town, of her family, of the child that her and her husband had, that they were going to give the house over to him and everything. But now with this, it's thrown everything absolutely out of order. And it's sad that we're even talking about this sort of stuff when there's so much technology available, like positive train control, and the amount of effort that the Florida East Coast put into when they did Brightline, because it is running on freight railroads, but they made sure that no sort of accident like this has any sort of massive chance of occurring, or no chance, very little chance of occurring, because they put in their more than past their due diligence to make sure that's going to be safe. And that's what we should be working in, is having, instead of, well, what are we going to do after the fact? Well, how can we prevent this sort of accidents from happening? We have all the technology available, like positive train control. I mean, we see this over in Japan and other countries, where Japan has had, they've moved 10 billion passengers on their Shinkansen, not one passenger, zero fatalities during operation, with all the earthquakes and natural disasters that country gets. I mean, that's the type of stuff that we're talking about, is that we can bring over here to prevent this sort of stuff. I mean, if you had some sort of positive train control that could absolutely see that, hey, this wheel is going off, we have to stop the train now, and it just kicks in, slows down the train, you wouldn't be talking about this accident. It would be something that's on the page, probably on a local newspaper, that said, well, a train had to stop, it had an issue, it's now being towed away, they fixed the issue, done. This wouldn't have happened. 99% of people in East Palestine wouldn't have even known about it. Maybe somebody who was, driving out early, like 3 o'clock in the morning to work, would probably get stuck behind a train or something like that, but that would be it. That would be as much inconvenience as all this could have happened. This was a complete failure. Absolutely complete failure on Norfolk Southern's part. And this is now being predicated and amplified by the failure of the federal government to do anything of value to fix this and to help these people's lives.
So true. It's sad, but it's true.
Exactly. All right.
And
next person we'll bring on. Minor Tree. Always good to hear from you, man. Welcome aboard.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Well, I have 2 points. Do you want to hear point 1 first or point 2 first?
Point 1. Let's go in order.
All right. To go off of David's point before you started bringing more people on about the housing issue, when you look into it really clearly, you can break it down into 2 separate aspects. There's the land side of the aspect, and then there's the house part of the aspect. Even when the baby boomers eventually die and then give off everything to the next generation, the land value is not really going to change all that much. The houses on top of it, that's a different story. Because once you look into it, the houses are very, very, very overvalued and is the main part of the bubble. But the problem is once that bubble burst, you realize most people who have invested a lot of money, a lot of their wealth is into their house. So once that burst and it goes back to what its value truly is, you're talking about wiping off a lot of wealth. And most of the people who are landowners do not want that bubble to burst. And if it is going to burst, they want it to burst as close to their death as possible in order to get the maximum amount of wealth out of it.
Exactly.
Because once it bursts and all the other aspects is taken into account, that bubble will almost never happen again. But they want to make sure that it doesn't happen because they remember back to 2008 when it burst last time, and they've just been trying to pump it back up to the old heights.
Yeah, it's the kind of system that we have. It's just this debt cycling and a fractional reserve system that they just keep using over and over again to try to make money out of nothing.
And it's the auction sheet right there.
Yeah. Once you realize that an old starter houses, populars in the 1920s and earlier, many of them either do not exist anymore, or if they do, they're in the old town and way overpriced.
Oh yeah.
It's like, all right, what about mixed use zoning? It's like maybe less than 10% over a course of an entire region, much less an urban area.
Like,
most of those.
No. You have a fantastic point about that. It's funny enough. Like 2 weeks ago, I was like looking for, I'm looking in the housing market, seeing what's available right now, and absolutely not going to be able to buy anything, but just to see. And there was this old 1920 starter home, like you were talking about, that was, funny enough, built for railroad workers and their families. It was these townhouses with 3 bedrooms, a basement, and an attic. This was a starter house. for somebody working on the railroad. So, physical labor, blue collar work, 3 bedrooms, an attic, and a basement. And a beautiful house, this nice little 1920s townhouse. But it was $500,000 in Indianapolis. It's like, what the fuck? It's crazy.
More likely than not, less than half that value is in the land itself.
Oh yeah, no, it's all speculation on the house, because if it was just a lot, it would be maybe $100,000 or whatever, with the utilities included there to go ahead and hook up to. But yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, once the housing part pops again, I don't see it making a lot of gains back, which is why they don't want it to pop as long as possible.
Oh yeah.
But on the second part, the second point I wanted to bring up is a simple law. We're talking about, how this company created all that pollution. Oh, they're evil. And it's like, the EPA did similar stuff, and that's evil. It's like, all right, let's just pass a single law that goes into effect rather immediately. If you, either a government official or the board, whoever, creates a certain circumstances where a bad thing happens, do not worry. You are personally liable for all the financial issues, and whoever caused the issue, whether it was a manager who was just doing whatever, an employee that was absent-minded or whatever criminal penalties happen, you personally have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So it's you're no longer being thrown under the bus because you caused the issue, you face the issue. But it's like you then turn back to Norfolk Southern, and you're like, okay, this house was $200,000 before the accidents. Now they're not even getting 80. You're paying that plus restitution, plus you're paying to clean all this up. Oh, you don't have the money? Well, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to sell that second house you have there. Oh, and that beachfront property as well. Well, if you didn't want this to happen, well, you should have dealt with it years ago.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's because they're hiding behind the corporation as well. That they're in charge of anything, but they're not in charge, and they're not taking any sort of
responsibility.
Exactly. There's no responsibility that's being imposed on them. There's no sort of punishment. So really, they're not even hiding behind the corporation. They can just come out there and just say, like, we don't really need to do anything. We're still going to collect on this. We're going to do stock buybacks and all that sort of stuff to go ahead and make our investors and our stockholders happy. But, the people who live near our lines that have getting affected, there's some peanuts. At least their insurance policy is basically making sure for $2 million they can get a lobbyist paid off, that they can pay peanuts to our representatives, because they're basically all for sale, and it's not really that much that you really need to go ahead relatively to pay for a congressman to pass through whatever sort of law or anything that you need to get through.
That's like a 10-hour rant for me right there, but the simple way to do it, all right, lobbying will be turned into what it is, illegal bribery, and all current people who are partaking in it will be arrested and will be charged with the bribery and minimum 10 years. It's like, you're a senator? It says here that you took illegal bribery money. Let's see, 10 years. No, that's minimum. You've got 40 cases against you. Pack your bags with a lot of books, because you're going to be there a while. I don't think you're going to get off that easy, but it's like, but don't worry. Your vacation will be just nice. You just have to wait until you get out.
Yeah, and this is why, like, you're looking at websites like opensecrets.org and seeing where a lot of these senators and representatives get their money from, or any sort of government bureaucrat, or where these companies are donating money to. It really goes to say, it's like, that's where all the lines are going into. And then when you look at how much money is really going around, it's really not that much in terms of what they're getting paid for.
Didn't Open Secrets say that bribe a senator was like something like less than $100,000?
Oh yeah, but here's the thing, and that's That's whatever's public, because of course there's a lot of other private money that's being slushed in through the wherever else. It's in the and
Right,
it's
like minor trees.
it's in the form of stocks. It's in the form of other perks and everything else that's put into there that's not publicly available. Okay, because all those stocks and everything else, like you'll hear it all the time, where a senator sold all their stocks of X, Y, and Z right before bad news of X, Y, and Z became public. Well, gee, how do they know?
Or two friends got together and like, all right, who's the best stockbroker you know? It's like, all right, let's choose whatever Nancy Pelosi chooses.
Exactly.
Right, like minor tree. I was going to say that earlier. My neighbor house is a railroad house. The type, it dated back from the 1910s.
Oh, back when it was still popular to go by rails.
Yep. Like, my neighbor house, like, they bought it from the company that used to have it, like the Seaport Airline, because they lived here since the 1970s. They're my neighbor. They're nice people, but they literally bought it for dirt cheap, moved it over here, and then they literally rebuilt it from the ground up. And
well, that's the cheap way of doing it.
Oh yeah, and it is a railroad house. It's one of them old ones. You can tell it's old. But I'll be honest, and not Brightline, but Demetrius, it coming from your state. I'm in Florida. Is that they did pass a new law where if you're a senator or anybody in government down there, guess what? You got to show your tax return and what you paid for it.
Yeah, a public servant should have their life public. It's as simple as that. You can't have any sort of private stuff. We got to know what it is that you're bought into, so we can see exactly how you're going to align when it comes to any sort of policy. It's as simple as that.
And funny thing is when this bill was signed into law, a lot of senators, and you probably already know that a lot of them, those went down. Like a lot of them, like are not running in government anymore. They stepped down.
Yeah, either they step down or they'll all come together to go ahead and destroy the bill and not go. That's the other thing. It's like people saying, we need to cap the amount of terms that a representative is going to have. Well, who votes on that? You think you're going to be able to vote on that? Let's say if you're working, you're going to vote on yourself to say that you're going to have the terms of the amount of work terms that you're going to have. I don't think they're going to vote for themselves for that. Nobody's going to. That's the thing. Things like max amount of terms for representatives or a spending cap. That sort of stuff is not going to happen. Why would they kneecap themselves?
Exactly. And the thing is that the bill that is down in Florida already passed. It actually passed, and a lot of senators are now stepping down now that it's passed.
Yeah, I'm surprised that even happened, but that's a step forward. It is a step.
And I know the reason why they are stepping down, because let's be honest, probably about 85 to maybe 90% of them would be in jail right now if people found out what they did.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. Let's go ahead and bring in. Let's see.
Right line.
Let's get in. There we are. Bringing in one at a time.
Hello.
Hey there.
Hello.
Wow, I've been waiting for this moment right now. Okay, basically, I've heard what you're talking. You were talking about the Wall Street, and basically, I absolutely hate Wall Street. Those in that building where Wall Street is headquartered in New York City, they're the most greediest, how can I tell you? They're the most greedy, most dirty, most cheap, dumb people on the planet.
Oh yeah, there's plenty to go around them, but yeah, if there's one building with a lot of corruption in it, is definitely Wall Street. Probably second to the Federal Reserve, and we don't even know what goes on in there. So that's something else.
Printing more money, I suppose. Printing more money.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. It's like the fact that it's not even a secret anymore. That this is we all know what's going on. It's just crazy. It's like they know that we know what's going on. They don't care.
They will when people start revolting like the French.
At some point.
We might have a French-style revolution in America. We might. Oh boy.
I don't know.
Just pray that does not happen, because if it happens, you can kiss most, if not all, of your current wealth goodbye, and at least the next decade just to rebuild.
Yeah,
assuming nothing gets destroyed.
And that's the thing people got to understand is that you're living, you like your public, you like your amenities right now. You like living under a roof with electricity, with knowing that you're going to get to work at some point. Yeah, it's a lot more time than it takes or should be taking to, but you do get paid on Fridays. The check does come in and all that sort of stuff. The minute something here pops in the United States, you're going to wish that either you were a heck of a lot more prepared than you were, or that it didn't happen. It is not a pretty sight to go through some sort of war. So I completely understand that we're all upset. Believe me, if something is going to happen, I hope and pray that we deal with this as we're young now before we get too old. But it's something that, look at Ukraine. And look at what it's changed over there for the people living in those areas. That they don't have a side on the war, but they're the ones that are losing because their cities and towns are getting blown to crap by the Russians and the Ukrainians. So it doesn't matter. That's the problem.
Yeah, and for basically the price of a decent house in an urban area, you can buy land out in the countryside and build a somewhat, if not fully self-sufficient homestead. But even then, if things started popping off, it's like, all right, you're self-sufficient, but now your old neighbor that you used to live next to a few years ago is now at the gates, and they brought their family. And what about your other family that decided to stay in the cities? What about your friends? It's like, yeah, you're self-sufficient for yourself and maybe your family, but for how many?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's
on
like
top of everything else.
To what point is it worth it? And that's the other thing. If the Panamanian paratroopers start, falling over into your backyard, you're not going to want to be there anymore. You're going to have to get your family, get yourself, and get the heck out. And that's going to be the problem. Things can change. Look at these people over in East Palestine. A lot of them had to go away because they're immunocompromised, they've gotten sick, and some of them just can't, and they're stuck, and they're getting sicker and sicker by the day, and nothing is happening. And that's the reality of what we have to deal with.
That's true.
Right.
And let's be honest, is that all the stupidity and greed is what is causing this,
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's the short-term greed and thinking of it. Yeah.
It's a lot of short-term thinking with the law of long-term issues, and as well as just ignoring a lot of long-term maintenance compounding on each other. So it's like, it's designed to last 50 years, okay? But it was put in over 50 years ago.
Cutting corners is what I call it. Cutting corners.
Yeah. We put on Grand Trunk Railway fan is up on board now too.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard.
Hey.
How you guys doing?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Good.
Regarding the freight railroad hoax, what has the freight railroads gone to these days?
It's sad to see, man. It really is.
Oh yeah.
It's horrible.
But we all remember when the freight railroads, we remember when the freight railroad was way better back in the day,
Back in my day, we're getting to that age group saying back in my day.
Back in my day, we had decent stuff, and before the internet was made popular.
Guys, remember the 90s?
That was my favorite time.
I was born in 1998, so it would be the early 2000s for me.
Oh shoot! Yeah, I forgot. Some of you guys were like either like born on the tail end of the 90s, or like some of you guys weren't even born until after 9/11. It's like, whoa, there are kids drinking now that were born after 9/11. It's like now I understand. Now I understand my parents' generation, because their big thing was the JFK assassination, especially for my mom. And then my grandparents remembering where they were in Pearl Harbor. And funny enough, I had to go down to Corpus Christi for work to get some stuff down there. I visited the USS Lexington, the carrier, and I got myself some of the reprints of the War Declared. Look at that. And it's just like you look at like the old newspapers, and you look at that and you just see the difference of people back then. You know, it's a complete 9-day difference of what this country has become. And in terms of that, it's like, what if World War III was declared right now, would we all be rushing to go in and everything? No, none of us. All of us have resounding no. For what? What are we fighting for?
Most people would be either draft dodging, or probably trying to find a bunker to hide out.
We're gonna be in the Fallout universe.
It's that awkward moment where you had to wear a minimum a 2-piece suit to go to a baseball game, but we're more sophisticated and intelligent than they are.
People wearing pajamas to go to the airport or to Walmart. Yeah, we've become so intelligent and forward thinking.
Sometimes I'm just going to share a piece of advice. If it's just coming from me myself, I'd just say, like, sometimes the smarter way of thinking is more simple thinking. That's the reality.
Yeah. That is true.
Yep. Let's see. We got one more guy on here. Let's put in focus. Here we are.
Hopefully Adam puts his hand up.
We're getting a full house over here. Hey there.
Hello. Do you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Is Kyril, you do realize I would like to ask about the signaling system, the PTC.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you correctly about. I'm sorry, about PTC.
Yep. Yes, about PTC. Because I think there was a video recently by Alopecia about something about Brightline implementing want to have waiver to avoid using a different type of PTC. I think Kyril, you could explain it further.
Okay, so Brightline implementing positive train control.
Oh, listen. I know what he's trying to say.
Okay, go.
Basically, Wabtec and Alstom are blocking a waiver they're blocking Brightline West's waiver because most of the PTC systems that Brightline is using in between the Las Vegas and Los Angeles stretch are made in Europe. They must be made in America.
Okay, so what Alstom and Wabtec are doing, or they're trying to say, hey, we want some of that business too, so, get rid of this waiver so we can go ahead and try to butt in here to have a contract to make PTC. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think Brightline West, they said that Brightline West actually violated the Buy America Act, which basically gives company Brightline West must buy American-made goods.
Okay, so and as somebody who works every day with Buy America vehicles and know how this whole system works, and for years, it's like I'm very familiar with Buy America. A lot of that stuff, there's a certain percentage to where things are either not just made but assembled in Buy America. So the things can't come over from Europe, but they have to be assembled here, and they have to be assembled by American workers in a certain fashion. So I mean, technically, yes, they can do it. It depends on what way. Because if they're buying a full entire PT system that's just being dragged over from Europe and then just being slapped in there, then yes, that would probably be in violation of Buy America. But if they're buying the expertise, they're buying the material, and it's being assembled and constructed over here, then probably not. So I mean, this is something so that Alstom especially doesn't want, because they know that Siemens is going to get the contract for this. They want to slow it down as much as possible, which is kind of dirty. And Wabtec the same thing, because Wabtec has been involved with a whole lot of other signaling systems, and that whole thing has changed ever since with General Electric a couple years ago, when they sold off most of their, if I remember correctly, most of their railroading equipment line over to Wabtec. But this is kind of dirty.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like the Jones Act, only for other aspects of society other than just boats.
Yeah. Like, and here, saying, I'm going to bring it up. Like, the reason why Alstom are doing it, because they are having problem with people buying their stuff, They screwed up so bad, and they're having a problem. They're trying to take everybody else down and lift them,
Oh, man, Alstom.
Here's the thing, is that Wabtec wants Brightline West to implement the IETCS system, or the PTC, based on American regulations. They don't want European-based automated train control from Europe. That's the main point.
Yeah, no, we want the best, and unfortunately, Europe's got the best right now. We want their tech so we can implement it over here.
No, you don't realize it's so hard to implement already successful standards from around the world. We need to use the standards that we have right now that are sorely lacking in all aspects.
Wait, you mean the same standards that led to that led to this? That's the standards that I want. I know, but I'm just saying. Wait, I don't want those standards. I want the standards that actually work.
But that's asking way too much, don't you know?
Man. But this is what I always say. If it cost more up front, it'll be cheaper in the long run. And here it's saying, if it's cheaper up front, it's gonna be costing more in the long run. Am I right?
This is just crazy.
Not necessarily, but once you do the math on the back end, you're realizing how much it's going to cost both up front as well as residual over a long enough time, and then you're like, all right, here's the point when it breaks even either way, and then you're like, all right, which of these two systems is going to last out the time? You're like, all right, it's going to last 50 years. It's like, all right, the break-even point's in 20 years. At that point, you have no arguments.
Yeah.
It's like once you break down the numbers and then you just lay it out in front of them, then you can look them in the eye and it's like, why are you choosing the inferior system?
Exactly. All right, so we're heading towards the end over here. Let's see if we can close this out right at 9 o'clock on the dot. Anybody has any last words over here?
Well, I will say, and I always say, everybody always chooses a bus because they're cheaper up front, but they always the kicker. Buses are more expensive in the wrong one. Wrong. Commuter rail is more expensive up front, but cheaper in the long run. Am I right?
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, yes.
Okay, basically, I've heard that there's a lot of transit projects in the Dominican Republic. Well, we're going to have a national railway network here as well. It's confirmed.
That is amazing. It's about time.
To be honest,
for the U.S.
No, Dominican Republic.
Oh.
Oh,
to be honest, when I first heard of PTC, I thought it was already been standardized. The regulation has set a standardized. I didn't actually know the fact that there is actually different types of PTC. Including the ICTMS, what's the one that is on the northeast corridor. I didn't know if when they regulate, they actually say whatever it is, as long as it's only set of goals. Actually, is it a regulation problem or is it just a business problem? I think just a business problem, right?
It's both.
It's both. Both on the not having regulation to begin with, paired with regulation not being followed on one side, and the other side of companies not following the regulation to begin with and making decisions that are great for the next quarterly update and terrible for the business overall.
Like, he got a point right there, and thing is, we see that a lot here in the U.S. Let's just hope, because the boomers, and we can blame the boomers for this, is that with most of them already starting to age out and get into their 80s, hopefully we might be able to, finally start getting some more control from them. And I always say that we don't need to worry about Gen X, because let's be honest, they're the smallest generation out of everybody. Am I right?
Yeah.
Partially. Once you look into it, the average lifespan in the United States for a male is 82.8 years, and the women is 84.2. So even once you take into effect that retirement is 65, and the average baby boomer retired in late 2022, early 2023, so more than half have already retired, you're still talking another 15 years. Minimum.
I know, but thing is that with our generation now getting old enough where we can push our agenda,
Yeah, it's gonna happen, but you're still talking the better part of the next decade.
Yeah,
at minimum.
And this is why we have to start, and I get it, but like at this point, we've done enough blame to go around. We just need to start at least coming up with solutions and having a system that is built and ready, not necessarily completely ready to go or anything like that, but at least the building blocks set and ready when everything collapses, that we're building upon something. We're not trying to tear down anything here. We're trying to build for the next generation and the generations on for the country. That's what we need to start thinking.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned in a string previous, it's still going to take at least 20 years to build out the way we want it.
Oh, yeah.
And then at least another decade after that to at least break even. So once you tally that in, it's just saying, all right, you're 55 years old. Are you willing to make an investment today so that by the time you die, that you left this world a better place than what you found it? Yes? Great. If not, all right, we'll just ask your neighbor. And then you just keep going down.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, you're over 55. Here are your options. If you decide, nope, you're going to wait another decade, all right, at least we know not to congratulate you for anything. So it's just saying, hey, you can make this investment now while you still live long enough to see it out, or you can not live to see it even break even, much less finish.
Yeah, and you never know if you get lucky enough to have a sort of Henry Flagler moment in your life where he was able to go ahead and build the Florida East Coast Railway all the way down from Jacksonville down to even the Key West, and that was like near the final point of his life where he said to himself, I'm just kind of paraphrasing over here, but when he got over to Key West, he basically said to himself, okay, I've done my work, I can basically die in peace right now. And he did. About like 2 or 3 years later after that, he unfortunately fell down the stairs at the Whitehall in West Palm Beach. But I mean, look, that's how life happens. And this was somebody that had basically unlimited amount of money. I mean, this guy was an absolute powerhouse in terms of how much financial capital he could be able to throw around and get things done. But we don't have people with that sort of business acumen or the cojones to really do anything. Now, like what the closest is Donald Trump, and he doesn't even come close. Not even a close to what Henry Flagler or any of those guys back then in the Gilded Age were able to throw around, for better or for worse, for what those people did. But the fact is that Henry Flagler at the second end of his life, at the second part of his life, was able to build something that still to this day has completely created an entire state, an entire region of the country that is one of the most populous regions, and still now the most popular region to move down to, because of what he did 100 years ago. So that's the type of thing, is that we're not going to see the ultimate end of this, but we at least are going to kickstart something that's going to affect generations on.
Oh yeah, so true. That is so true, and you're right about that, Demetrius.
And it's just past 9 already for you.
Yep. So I think
you did keep your promise.
Exactly. So I think we're set there, guys. There's really no other way to bring it to an end, but we thank you all. Thank you all for coming on here, because this was something important we need to talk about, and we'll talk about more about this during the month about East Palestine. I don't know, maybe we can bring somebody over from East Palestine or somebody involved with what's going on there to talk about this.
That's a good idea.
I think that'd be
That'd be good. Yeah.
That would be good.
Speaking of which, we have Super Bowl next week.
Oh yeah, Super Bowl.
Yeah. So we're probably not gonna stream on the Super Bowl, because I know if anybody's gonna watch, like if people who don't watch football, if they're gonna watch one game, they'll watch the Super Bowl, they get confused and like, okay, so they got a 3-point home run, okay, and that'll be the end. But anyway, we'll let you know when the next stream's coming on, guys. We may have one this week talking about the news and everything, because there's been some big news again. Brightline did get another boost of money towards them in the grant, so that's at least that's money that's not going to be blown up, right? So that's something there. It's not going to be blown up in a sandlot somewhere. But anyway, guys, thank you all for coming on to the stream. We appreciate it.
We have now reached our final destination.
Exactly. Thank you all for writing. Stay safe. Go ahead, David. You can sign it off.
Subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys later. Signing out.
Good night and Godspeed. Take care.
Godspeed. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Skinhead, deadhead, everybody gone. Situation, aggravation, everybody allegation in the suit on the news. Everybody thought, bang, bang, shot, and everybody's gone. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. Beat me, hate me, you can never break me. Will me, thrill me, you can never kill me. Chew me, sue me, everybody do me. Kick me, kite me, don't jump like a white me. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. Show me what has become of my life. I have a wife and 2 children who love me. I am the victim of police brutality. No, I'm tired of being the victim of hate. Remember me, I'm a bride for God's sake. I think I'm coming to fulfill this prophecy. Set me free, skinhead dead. Everybody gone past competition, recognition. Everybody out the government don't wanna see. But if Roosevelt was living, he wouldn't let it be. No, no. Skinhead, deadhead, everybody gone back. Situation, speculation, everybody litigation. Beat me fast, you can never test me. Hit me, kick me, you can never get me. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us.